Good afternoon. On behalf of the director, Raimundo Pérez Hernández, let me give you a warm welcome to this foundation and to this conference. Let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel Santín. I'm professor of economics at the Complutense University of Madrid, and I also collaborate with the foundation organizing part of the activities that are funded or sponsored. This event will be in English. However, since one of the priorities of the foundation is to foster the use of the Spanish language in science, let me do part of this welcome word in Spanish. En primer lugar, quiero agradecerles a todos ustedes que se hayan desplazado a la sede de la Fundación para disfrutar de esta conferencia que lleva por título ¿Heredarán los bots la Tierra?
This is a conference that we are going to listen by Dorottya Sallai and Jon Cardoso-Silva. On behalf of the foundation, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce these speakers. I would like to thank the London School of Economics for their commitment and work for this cycle of seminaries with SAI to be possible. I would like to thank the team organizing the seminars and John Butchers, the master classes, Christian Tell, represented today by all the team, together with Andres Rodriguez Poza. Today, at the headquarters of the foundation, there is a master class for 3-day master class about artificial intelligence and the future, together with Ramón Areces Foundation and the London School of Economics. I don't know how familiar you are with the goals of this foundation, but the foundation has as a goal to promote excellent science. For that purpose, there are 3 major areas: science of matter, humanities and social sciences. And within social sciences, which we are today, I would like to say that the foundation has very many possibilities to have a scholarship for the best students in Spain to be able to do their master courses and PhDs in our foreign prestigious university, and other postgraduate courses as well. And they have another project to aid researchers of less than 40. So if you know somebody who fits this profile, please let them know about it. The foundation supports one of the most important research centers in the world and collaborates with Oxford University and other international universities. It organizes very many conferences in order to put in contact the academic world and society and provide and disseminate the best information. Let's just enjoy this conference, and I would like to ask you to explore the website of the foundation in order to find new events that might be of your interest. Thank you. Christian, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Daniel. Buenas tardes a
todos. Thank you, Daniel. On behalf of the Cañada Plan Center of the London School of Economics, I would like to welcome you very warmly to this public conference about whether bots will inherit the world. This conference wouldn't have been possible without the collaboration of Daniel and his team. And as Daniel has mentioned, this is part of the masterclass organized by the foundation together with the LSE about the future of AI and the role played by it in the transformation of societies. We are very fortunate today because this format of masterclasses provides us the opportunity to offer the best discussions in Madrid. And this is a format that we've been using for more than 10 years together with this foundation. For those who don't know the LSE, this is a university founded in London in 1895, focusing on social sciences. And more than worldwide leaders studied there, and more than very many Nobel Prizes. And it is the best university, or was rated as the best university in the UK, according to Times, in 2025. I would like to speak in English now, because this is the
whose leitmotif is rerum cognoscere causas, to know the causes of things, and which advocates critical thinking, the search in AI tools, and how they are reshaping education, knowledge work, and society in general is of utmost interest. In particular, since these technologies raise critical questions about data use, data governance, and cognitive autonomy. Here with us tonight to shed some light on these questions are Dr. Dorottya Sallai, Associate Professor at LSE's Management Department and Chair of the LSE AI Working Group, who's analyzing how organizations integrate AI into management and adapt to technology change, as well as Jon Cardoso-Silva, who is Associate Professor at LSE's Data Institute, who is leading the Genial, or how do you pronounce it? Genial working group, looking into how AI is affecting higher education. Jon, Dori, the floor is yours. Thank you.
We can all hear me well? Okay, now you can hear me, yes. I'm Jon, as Christian said, and the topic of today is whether bots are inheriting the earth. My name is Jon, as we said, and I teach data science to undergraduate students at the LSE, and I'll be focusing perhaps more on the technical parts and on the education side of things tonight.
Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dorottya Sallai. I'm teaching management at the management department at LSE, and I'm here to talk about AI leadership and the human side of change tonight. And as you've seen, when we were preparing for this lecture, I created 2 avatars for ourselves to represent our pictures with ChatGPT. But I didn't give ChatGPT any contextual knowledge about how we look, or what I just gave it a very short, brief prompt about this lecture and the content of what we teach. And it came up with these 2 images. And I thought these images look, especially mine, resembles very closely to how I normally look. And I was quite surprised, how did the machine know my characteristics? Even the color of my hair, the length of my hair, and what is the color of my skin. So without me telling the machine how I look. So I tried to investigate, and it seems when I asked that ChatGPT told me that it based my appearance on the knowledge that it has about me. And I was intrigued. Okay, what is the knowledge? And the machine referred to my bio. And the bio, I wasn't sure which bio it was. The bio on the LSE website that has my picture and my bio, or something else. So I asked, and it specified that it was the bio in the system settings of ChatGPT. So when I took out some of the words that the machine referred to, for instance, it said to me that it knew that I was a female professor because I used in my bio descriptive words like I'm interested in innovative education or gender equality, and my word and my name, Dori, without my surname, was in my bio. Based on these 3 characteristics, it guessed my appearance. So I took those things out and prompted it again in a new prompt. Oh, sorry. No, this doesn't work.
This is the back. This is good.
Oh, yeah, okay. So why is it not coming? Okay, and then the new me appears. Okay, so this is the same prompt, but taking out the contextual knowledge that the system settings had about me. So my name and my interests. And based on the same prompt, I have a nice beard, and I'm male, and I look completely different.
You shaved completely, Jenna.
Yeah, I think. So anyway, that's the story to start with. And when I did the same for Jon, apparently he didn't change. He didn't change gender and appearance. So it seems that it's very important to know what these AI systems know about you, even when you are just using them without knowing what the information is that you have already in them. So what can we say about the current impact of generative AI on our society? Tonight, we will talk about 3 key areas. First, education, because we've seen a lot of changes since ChatGPT came into our lives. It changed how students learn and how teachers teach, and the whole education setting. Business and the labor market, there are several cases of how productivity grows. There's a lot of promises, but of course, there are also a lot of skepticism and risks, and we will discuss about society issues as well. So I will hand over to you, Jon, now.
Of course. So let's talk about education first. For anyone who works in education, no matter if you're a school teacher, university professor, you would have felt the impact of these tools in your daily life, for sure. Data from the UK tells us that 92% of undergraduate students are using ChatGPT, mostly generative AI chatbots, as part of their studies. It's become common practice for them. This is a number that increased from 66% on the previous year. 88% of those who were surveyed by the Higher Education Policy Institute told the people who were interviewing them that they use it specifically for writing assessments or helping them with assessments in some sort of way. Interesting to see how another piece of research survey indicates that amongst teachers, 42% of them, primary school and secondary teachers in the UK, tell that they do use AI for teaching and for their practices. So this is something we noticed firsthand. Our students are a lot more proficient with the AI tools than we are, and I would bet that this is the same reality here in Spain and most of the Western world. But how are they using it, and what are they using it for? So people are using, students alike, teachers, they're using AI a lot for searching for information, and searching is, in a way, replacing the role that Google had up until now, in a way. So we've seen a lot of people using ChatGPT, relying on ChatGPT to search, find information, and to do checking on grammar, to create first drafts of everything. And some teachers are seeing some efficiency gains on that as well. In terms of tools, people are using a lot of ChatGPT, but they also use Grammarly, which is an AI that is more specifically for grammar. And there's also a use of Microsoft Copilot, even though to a much less degree. What does it mean for us to have that, AI-infused world in the classroom? Well, first of all, people are adjusting to a new environment. They're adjusting to a new way of presenting information, thinking about information, and collecting information. But they do feel more confident with it so far. So we started with that in November 2022. Right now, even students say that they feel their teachers now understand better the AI. They have better AI literacy. That's the term we normally use for that. And students also claim to understand the downsides of AI. They know that the AI can sometimes make up stuff that is not there, and they feel that this is a skill that is very, very important for the world. The negative side of that is that it is possible, and there's some evidence of that already, that students, when they're using AI too much, they are completely bypassing the learning, and they're just like cognitively, like they're doing what we call cognitive offloading. You remove your brain a little bit from the scene, and then instead of learning, you're training the machine to perform a task for you. I guess that's the major concern that we all have. And students, sometimes they would add text to their assessments, and they don't feel ethically conflicted about that at all, even though there are some concerns. I won't go into that. So this is the panorama of where we are right now. It's huge in education. I guess that's a summary for now.
So let's look at business. How does business adapt to the huge usage of AI systems, especially generative AI, that we can see everywhere now? So the biggest impact, there are so many different areas where, where we've seen changes, but we wanted to highlight one impact that maybe is not that visible, but quite substantial, that workers, digital freelance work, is diminishing, especially in areas where ChatGPT and generative AI systems are very productively producing content. So for instance, Western European translation work, these works are digital freelance work, so when people are taking one-off jobs online to translate text, for instance, there was a sharp decline, 23% decline in language translation work. We also see that sort of work plummeting in other sort of writing areas, like writing, for instance, real estate advertisements or about us pages that were advertised previously on these big platforms. So on the one hand, we've seen that some of those jobs will go out of fashion that are now substituted with AI systems, and there's also going to be an explosion of some other type of work that is necessary. So for instance, those people who understand these machines and they can, for instance, program them. So machine learning programming increased with around 30%. So there is like this trend, and this is just one snippet of the changes. There will be loads of other changes in different skill areas and different industries. But this is just something to highlight, that these sort of generative AI systems that we are seeing now that are producing text and images will affect those jobs that are producing these outputs as well. And another very interesting study from McKinsey also investigated how generative AI impacts different industries. For instance, technology, professional services, media or telecom. And within these industries, which are the business areas that are mostly affected by generative AI? And they found that across the board, which is very interesting, marketing and sales are the areas where people, professionals, use generative AI systems the most in their work. Of course, there are other areas as well, but you can see that in marketing and sales, across the board, in all industries that they investigated, there is a very high number of users, around 40, 50%. And then the last slide about this, again from McKinsey, is, okay, we see a change in skills and jobs. We see an increase in usage in different areas, but we also see a decrease in costs associated with some of these services. So those areas, software engineering is highlighted, product and service development, and knowledge management are the three areas where companies and organizations are saving the most money because of the use of generative AI. But of course, we have to, behind the statistics, there is always a story. And there's always a story of companies, of employees, and stories of people. So we just wanted to highlight one, but this is, of course, just one example of many examples where companies are trying to engage with generative AI systems and implement these systems for productivity gains. So Klarna is a financial services firm, and they had a lot of layoffs recently, cut a lot of workers, not necessarily just because generative AI, but also because of the big transformation. They also tried to implement a lot of generative AI tools as customer service agents, chatbots, substituting human work with chatbots. But of course, this story tells us that they turned back because the investment and the shift wasn't very successful. We are all learning this game. So a lot of companies are trying to invest, but there are so many different circumstances why this is not always very easy to do. So they turned back and rehired the people who they laid off. Do you want to add something?
Yeah. So one interesting aspect of the reason why they have to backtrack now is because customers who were interacting with the chatbot were not happy. So it did not serve the whole purpose of interacting and answering questions from the customers. And at some point, their AI agents were serving 2/3 of all of the customer service that they had. If you ever interact with an AI bot, you'll probably feel that, a chatbot for a customer service sometimes might be infuriating.
But that's very key here to highlight that if you are shifting as a company, transforming services, trying to integrate AI systems, it's very important how it adds value, either to the workers or operations or your customers. If it doesn't, it will probably backfire. So that story also raises our attention that this is not an easy transformation. And a lot of leaders and companies are trying to invest in AI and make savings by changing human work to machine work, but sometimes they regret doing it. So we just wanted to highlight some statistics there, that, for instance, more than half admit that they made the wrong decision about redundancies too early because there was no real evidence at that time that these generative AI systems will be as successful as they thought.
That was the part on business, how this is impacting business. Now I want to shift your attention to society at large. Has anyone seen this picture before? You have? Yeah? So I have one, two, very few hands. So you're seeing this picture for the first time, so let me introduce you to it. This was a digital art piece that won an award, won a competition in the Colorado State Fair in the United States, and it was completely made with AI. So there was no editing, no photoshopping, no dragging this or dragging that. The artist was just simply typing prompts, and then eventually it reached the point where this image was created. And the judges found it impressive, and they awarded the prize to this person. This was even before ChatGPT was released. It was September 2022, and it made headlines across the world because people were now discussing, wait a minute, this is not art. There's no actually anyone doing the thing or dragging anything around. It's just a picture that you wrote some text to and it emerged. But if we look at how this person actually created that, you will discover that his name is Jason Allen. He spent over 80 hours just fine-tuning the prompt, which is rewriting how he wants to specify the way the image would look like. 80 hours worth of work to produce that image. So some would also argue, well, just like how an artist would try a draft, put it away, try another draft, put it away, refine the idea, and get to a final point, this perhaps is the equivalent of that for the new age. This is a debate that many people are having in society, and sometimes because of the conceptual understanding that you have about art, but also at a more ethical and moral perspective, artists don't like these technologies because, many artists don't like this technology because they've appropriated from their arts. So AI has been created from data, text, audio, video, images that are available on the internet. Many of those that are not allowed to be copied and put into the AI. And yet, the companies did and used this for that. So there's a lot of tension there, and I think this will continue for quite a bit of time. I want to show you one video. This here is a kangaroo that this woman is taking with her to the airport. She's trying to board an airplane. However, the person who's checking her ticket did not want to let her go in with her emotional support kangaroo. So it's the kangaroo she needs for her mental health. It turns out, it's very nice to see that the kangaroo holds the boarding pass very quietly. I find that very nice. I want a kangaroo as well. You can see it again.
Show it again.
Yeah. It turns out that this entire video is AI generated. None of that involves any actual human beings. None of that involves actual people. Well, there are many memes on the internet. There are many things out on the internet. Why is that news? Well, it turns out that a lot of people thought it was true. So a huge number of people thought, well, this is bizarre. This is so bizarre, it must be true. And the video sounds convincing. And no one can actually pick up what the language is that they're speaking. And you know, it speaks to a greater trend that there's a survey from KPMG and University of Melbourne that says that 70% of people are unsure if online content can be trusted. Rightly so. It's very difficult sometimes to judge. And 64% of them are concerned about real impact of beyond just memes and silly videos on things, for example, elections. Over half of the people who were surveyed responded they do not feel capable of identifying whether something is misinformation generated by AI or not. So think about the ramifications and implications that now very capable video generators have for our world. Well, we mentioned education, we mentioned business, and how society, art, digital spaces are being impacted. Before we start talking about the future, how we could shape the future, maybe we can talk about some of the dangers that we have right now and some of the things that we might want to think and reshape before we keep moving forward. It's just simply adopting AI for the sake of it, right?
Exactly. So we just wanted to raise attention to the language that we are using about generative AI, and it kind of came into our everyday because we are calling it artificial intelligence, and we are learning, we are talking about machine learning and a lot of things that humans do. So AI does not think.
These terms are well established in the literature, yet when they take wide adoption, they signify slightly different things, don't they?
And we just wanted to raise the idea that AI systems do not think
here's one
in
example.
the human sense.
Yeah, here's one example. So if you go to ChatGPT, use the most capable model, and tell it to, and I did that in Spanish as well, so you could connect to that. Tell it to create an image for you that has names of fruits, right? Just the name of fruits, not any fruits itself, but then highlight the letter R. It created some names of fruits. I don't know about the last one, so Spanish speakers in the room can tell me if this is an actual fruit. But he highlighted just one letter, and it's the letter S. So it's not exactly what I asked it for. But ChatGPT confidently tells me, yes, I did it. Yeah, it's all good. I did that for you. It's perfect. So this shows one small little example of how the AI can sound confident, can say that they know things, the thing knows some things, but there's no actual reasoning happening there. It's actually a statistical pattern matching that is getting closer to what you're saying. And even companies are now, there's a report by Anthropic, another one by Apple that says reasoning models, which are the most fanciest of those out there, do not actually think like a human.
So, but we humans love to think about everything and identify, like for instance, natural occurrences with humans. So for instance, and see kind of things where they are not there. BBC reader said that his passion was taking photos of recognizable shapes made by the sea. There is a face kind of occurring from the sea. This other face was spotted on Mars and inspired a lot of conspiracy theories about life on Mars. And of course, Jesus was spotted on a frying pan. So when we humans like to imagine that humanize things even if they are not alive. You can see that there. And this is exactly what is happening with artificial intelligence, that in some sense, we are humanizing chatbots because they speak now to us. It wasn't the case before, but now they can actually speak to us, even on their voices, and they can listen and respond. So they kind of come across almost emotionally like a human. And it is very confusing for us people to imagine that they are not human. They are just machines that are giving us answers based on an algorithm and not because they actually empathize with us. And so why is this a problem? Well, it is a problem because if we overestimate the capabilities of AI systems in critical decision-making situations, for instance, then we might automate and give autonomy to machines to make decisions instead of us without really checking or without having an oversight of it.
Or even a grounded reason for that, right? So you can,
or a good reason for it. And that can cause all sorts of biases and also bad outcomes for certain groups of people. Underestimation of human oversight requirements is a big problem, miscalculation of responsibility. So if we have AI and human made decisions, let's say, sometimes I make the decision, that's clear, but what if we make the decision together? Who will be responsible for the occurring accident? Who will go to court if there is something that is going wrong? So responsibility, and then of course the false expectations about understanding versus pattern matching.
So I want to highlight one other thing which speaks to this. And well, first of all, we have this example here of some Chicago Sun-Times, a newspaper who publishes a magazine for recommendations, what to do in summer, read your books by the beach. What they did was asked another agency to produce that. The agency was short on time, asked an AI to do that, and produced an entire fake literature, recommendation of literature with real names of authors that had not published those books. So that's like, sure, they could have been more attentive to that. They didn't need to be that. But here's another example of where this misallocation of responsibility happens. There's a case now one year ago, I believe, in Canada, an airline company who used a chatbot for customer service. The customer said, I need a refund. I cannot embark on this flight. I need a refund. And it's because of a funeral. I have to attend a funeral. I need a refund. The policy of the company was, no, we don't refund those cases, unfortunately, because of the ticket you bought. But the chatbot said, well, I'm so sorry. I understand that. Of course, you're going to get a refund. The chatbot promised something to the client that it couldn't promise. It made it up because perhaps the context of, very humanistic context. When challenged in court, the lawyers of the company argued that, well, just like how a person could say an incorrect policy, the chatbot could be made responsible. They did not. They lost that case. So the judge was like, no, you put the chatbot over there. So, but it's convenient, isn't it? Like to shift the responsibility to a thinking machine.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's turn to the future. What could the future look like?
And one of the things we can start talking is, again, education, right? So all of the things that I said, like people are adopting AI and thinking about AI, many teachers and professors are struggling with the question of exams and essays and how students will do their coursework and how am I confident that the students know what they were writing about. I could go on this forever, but just to mention that there are routes that can solve this problem for us if we look at good pedagogical tools. We already know, even like in the 1968, Paulo Freire wrote about how we should redesign education systems across all levels such that it's not like a banking system forming people to work at a bank, but instead empower them and build them with their context. Bring the context of their lives, whatever they see and experience in their lives, bring that to the classroom. We still haven't done that properly. So perhaps if we did that, our learning journeys would be more authentic, and we do have a lot to learn actually from theories of the past.
Thanks.
Another point I would like to make in the case of de-education, and this is, again, our point we're making is how can we shape this future? We don't know exactly how the future will look like, but we can think about how can we make action such that AI is with us and is helpful in the future. So another proposal, this one more contextual to AI, comes from a dear colleague of ours, Professor Mairead Pratsky, who is also at the LSE. Mairead proposes a framework for us to think, and she calls that generativism. How do we co-work with an AI? Let's think about it this way. So There are many things that worked for an authentic experience and journey for digital environments, and which we could perhaps adopt for physical classrooms and digital environments as well, why not? But we can now add in the generative AI bits in there. So looking towards the future, let's make use of good pedagogy that we have, but also let's reconceptualize and learn from recent good examples that we have on digital learning space, for example.
Very good. And so business, okay. What is the biggest theme of 2025? AI agents. So, you know, AI agents may deliver substantial productivity gains, and I think industry is very expectant that it will deliver these promises. But it will only deliver these policies if leadership adapts to the changing environment, because generative AI and AI more broadly is changing how we work, how companies operate, and scaling pilot AI initiatives is a real barrier at the moment. So the biggest barrier is actually leadership's understanding of how AI impacts the workforce, how it works, and how it requires the rethinking of strategy and also processes within organizations. So AI literacy becomes basically a factor of competitive advantage.
We might want to explain what AI literacy perhaps is.
AI literacy, what I mean by AI literacy, there is a whole literature on this, but what I mean by that is understanding how AI systems work, how machine learning works, and obviously also using generative AI and other AI tools within your work.
Effectively, yeah.
Now, if we think that AI agents will be more and more implemented in the workplaces, for instance, integrated chatbots in organizations like Copilot you might have in your organization already, then we might feel a little bit unhappy about the fact that almost 50% of employees report that they have uploaded company information, for instance, financial sales or customer data, into these public AI tools. So what I'm hoping is that in the future, what we will have is a lot more knowledge and understanding about how AI is shifting our work and our understanding, a lot more transparency, and a lot more conscious strategy about how we will change our culture, so it will give us the opportunity to start talking openly about this idea that we are still learning it. Everybody is learning it. Leaders are learning it, educators are learning it, and technology companies, leaders and founders are learning it as well. So if we admit that and we work together, it's probably going to be easier. So the bottom line is executive transformation, AI leadership, and not just technological adoption what matters, because we've seen what happens if you adopt the technology without the real understanding of its impact.
And it's just to complement Doris' point, I'm from data science, and in data science we know that, and we had a session this afternoon, we were teaching a course here, and someone mentioned this as well, where in data science, whenever you have a technical task and you have a good technical project, most of the time we spend working on a solution is working out people, humans. How do these people talk to these people? How do the data that these people have talk to the data that these people have here? And the concepts are completely siloed in organizations. And I think it's completely applicable to the AI situation, right? So if we don't apply the same logic and same expertise, we might be losing.
So the next, basically just to round up, what can we expect from society? So the biggest worry in society is that a lot of people feel that there is a huge risk with generative AI. We've just seen the video. It probably put a lot of people at unease, and we are uneasy about it. We worry about students and or other people misusing generative AI in their work. So what could create trust in AI systems and then lead to acceptance of AI systems is like 4 things. Knowledge, so people have to learn. Students, educators, corporate leaders, industry people, everybody has to learn a little bit about AI, even if they are not interested, so that they can judge realistically what to trust, how to trust, which tools are good, and just make an informed judgment about how they are using their data with these systems. Motivational benefits means that we have to see the benefit of the usage of these systems. If we feel that these are not helping us, we will not use them. So we'll have to figure it out. Uncertainty. The more uncertainty we feel, the more we feel that our data is taken away, that it's not protected, that maybe we are gambling with the corporate data when we are trying to do a small report. As uncertainty goes up, the risk goes up, and that will actually lower the trust. So what we can do as a society, we can think about institutional safeguards and raising the confidence by producing good governance in companies and good legislation around the world. And that will create, hopefully, some trust. And my vision for the future is that that will create AI acceptance in a way that it is equitable and positive for the users, and not leading to a futuristic view of the world where we are not in control anymore.
Yeah, one thing I would compliment on that as well, I could have said that for the education scenario, where it's a position that I have that I hope that we can redesign our educational systems such that professors or teachers who want to use AI can use AI and will have a good learning journey with their students. Those who don't want to engage with AI shouldn't need to worry about it as well, so that these two things should coexist in the same world. If we have the foundations on the case of education, this is covered, then we can probably coexist in there in an AI-infused world. And I think this is very applicable to the society situation as well. So if people don't want to engage with AI or not, or they don't want to, as long as it's not affecting directly their work, their future of their work, as long as we build this trust in AI systems, in our digital societies, in our digital environments and everything, maybe we can find a way forward and we build that future.
Yeah, we use this from KPMG because this is really nicely shows you how you actually need some work before you can create trust and you can create a safe space for everybody. Just to mention the emerging economy and the education, that refers to those groups. So people in emerging markets and people in education have more acceptance of AI tools than other groups around the world. So we leave it with a question.
Yeah, so to answer the initial question first, will bots inherit the Earth? Are they inheriting the Earth? Well, based on the evidence that we have, it seems likely, it seems possible, if we continue to allow them to just continue to eat up the spaces that we have, or to enhance our productivity in places where we want more of, like, delegate some of the annoying work that we don't want to do. But we would like to pose a separate question and turn that back towards you, and is to think about exactly whose interests do we want the bots to serve. By that I mean, the bots that we have today, they have their opportunities and limitations, but they serve a specific goal in certain companies or some other things. So they might not necessarily be serving you. Who should, whose interest should be valuable?
How can we create systems that will benefit equitably and inclusively everybody in society, and that will be positive as a transformational change for humanity?
And we think that this path to the future that we highlighted in high level for education, business, and society is one of our propositions, but there could be other ways as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dory and John. If I may ask you to sit down with me before we open up the floor for questions to the audience. One question that came to my mind is, what do people today are actually using AI tools for? So what's the #1 use case you see?
You want to talk about that? Yeah.
Well, on top of my head, I can't give you exact statistics, but mostly text generation. So we've seen marketing and sales, so that's very typical. People produce text. People like to ideate with generative AI tools. So, you know, the writer's block, when you don't really know what to put on paper, and you just give a prompt, and it gives you something. And that gives you already an impulse, because you, oh, no, not this. And then you rewrite it, you already are over your writer's block. A lot of people use it for that.
There's another interesting piece of research that we saw recently from Harvard Business Review scholars. And they interviewed people, surveyed people to see, like, what are you using AI for? Like, what beyond like the textbook, for what reason? And the number one thing they use it in 2025 is for therapy and for companionship. So instead of going to a therapist, you can just go to ChatGPT or any other AI tool and, you know, open your heart.
And what was really interesting, that there was this shift from 2024 to 2025. Yeah. So therapy was not near the top, and then it is now. Why? Because these current generative AI systems are very, very good at talking to us in a language that seems very empathetic and understanding. So depending on how you prompt them, how you talk to them, they will respond in a very positive and human-like way. Of course, they are programmed like that, not accidentally. And that is quite confusing. Mm-hmm. And also, we have a society where people are isolated and lonely. So, you know, why wouldn't they turn to chatbots when they are lonely?
So then the human-to-machine interaction becomes blurred into almost a human-to-human-machine interaction, which is very interesting. Do we have any questions from the audience? If you could just wait for the microphone to arrive, for the gentleman in the white shirt first. If you can just introduce you briefly and pose the question. You have a translation in case you need a translation.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Wait.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The other day, on TV, there was a European list about primary and secondary school. And Castilla and León, the autonomous region, occupied a better place, was better rated than Euskadi and Catalonia, who are the ones with the greatest ophematic systems, the greatest number of ophematic systems. I am not in favor of using artificial intelligence, at least until 15 or even 16 years of age. Because on top of this, it was said that in the autonomous regions where ophematics were used, students did not reach a good knowledge level. And therefore, this is my opinion. Thank you. I am a biologist.
Who wants to take the...
I can mention some things. Thank you very much for your question. I agree as well that you, I think I don't know if I could say like 15, 16, I don't know which age I would say is the starting point to adopt AI in a learning environment. But I do accept and I agree with the idea that it might not be in the interest of young kids and teenagers to see a chatbot as the place for an authority for knowledge and for creation. I completely agree with that. And that is why there are opportunities there as well. And the challenge that we face here is that, just to mention the opportunities, one of the opportunities could be students who are struggling, young kids who are struggling might not have the necessary support, and a technological solution might get them from here to here. They might go up in learning if the tool is engineered correctly. So there is a promise and there is a potential for creating an AI tutor, personalized tutor that can give them that. Those are potential opportunities. They haven't materialized yet. But the challenge that I wanted to mention is that even if you say do not use AI, they are so easily found online. AI is so easy and so convenient to find that it's virtually impossible to control for that. So in a way, I think it's more practical to redesign the education system such that we mitigate that effect. So whatever is happening in their use of AI, how can we go against it somehow in the education system and mitigate that challenge?
Yes. Next question, please.
I could do this in English, but
okay.
following the example of the Fundación Ramón Areces, I will do it in Spanish, so
okay.
please allow me, and for the translator as well.
My question is the following. Which are the next step forward, which are quite public in the generative AI, and in the general AI, we see normal evolution. But I'm quite concerned about, what do you say about what it is a promise, which is the intersection between quantum computing and AI, because that could help us make a quantum leap. We could have a different dimension and go into a wider area.
So quantum computing has many promises, not just for generative AI, but for many things, right? I'll explain why if we manage to get good quantum computers to work at a level, like they already exist, some quantum computers already exist, but they're not practical. If they get to a level where we can use, just like we use a normal computer, you can break cryptography keys, so that's one major application that people like fraudsters might want to use for. And if essentially, this is one example because cryptography is something that is very hard to crack. You need a long, huge, infinite number of calculations to get the numbers right. AI also requires a nearly infinite number of calculations to get the answers right. So when you interact with a chatbot, it is predicting what is the best next word for you. But to do that, it does that quickly for you. But to be able to do that, you have to have trained it for months. And you have to inject it with all of the data that you found on the internet, all the text, all the images, all the videos. And it takes a lot of calculations to make sure that we rewire the internal bits and bobs of the network such that it can perform a good action there. So what would it mean to have a quantum computer? I agree with the quantum leap analogy. I think that is adequate. So it would mean that all of us could train our own AIs in our phones, essentially. So you could train your own AI that you take it with you, photograph your entire life and everything, and then you could have your own personalized AI that is trained to your particular biases. That would definitely be one very obvious use of quantum computing. But I'm not super familiar with where we are, but I think we're still very far apart from getting practical quantum computing. It would change things massively for sure.
To add?
I don't know.
Next question, yes.
Hola.
Hola.
Bueno, yo también voy a...
I am going to speak in Spanish as well. My question is the following. In the area of business, most businesses, large businesses, want to provide an image related to ecology, environmentally friendly, sustainable friendly. And artificial intelligence, we know, has a huge impact in the environment. When a company drafts these reports, sustainability reports, do they take into account the impact in the environment that the use of AI has in their company?
Thank you so much. I don't think they will. At least I haven't seen it yet, but obviously we might get there. Hopefully we will get there soon. It is very hard, I think, because it's indirect. So, but yes, as you say, we have to acknowledge that AI systems, first of all, they are produced by humans every step of the way. They are not always objective mathematical systems. They are produced by humans, and they take up a lot of energy, minerals, human work, and they are very, very costly to make. So for instance, America obviously has started this AI race. It's been going on for a while, but now there is like an open strategy about it. They started to invest in new nuclear plants to produce the energy that is necessary for these huge AI systems to be able to operate. And that is actually a trend across the world. Countries will be investing in new ways of producing energy, despite what we know about climate change and everything else, because of the demand of AI systems that is putting on our finite resources like water and energy. So it's an excellent question, and I'm really hoping that that's the future that we are imagining. So we are not thinking about the robots, but we are thinking about how we can make sure that companies will have an integrated responsibility, and they will take the lead to show how to be sustainable in this space. I think it's a very tricky question, though. Thank you.
I can also complement. So your question is a lot about how the businesses who use AI or might use AI. We mentioned about how AI companies should also be held accountable for how much they use of the resources and all of that. There is a narrative in the industry that some AI leaders, tech leaders would say that if we build the AI, the next generation AI, if we keep building them, we will eventually solve climate change. And that we need this bigger AI, because then it can solve climate change. My own personal position on that is that we already know how to solve climate change. We just don't have the political will globally to enact on that. So there is a little bit of that tension even in the AI tech world as well.
That's very relevant.
Hi. Right now, the AI is very good at picking and putting together all the information that appears on the multiple sites. Right now, also, mainly the information that appears on the sites has been put by people, human people. Suppose that mainly the most information, or near all the information that appears on the sites has been placed by the AI. How the AI evolved on this sense?
Can you take that one?
Okay, yeah, so yeah, I think we are getting into a state where information that we have that was like genuine knowledge-based information will be diluted a little bit, because now we will have these like hybrid creations of knowledge that will, and also automated knowledge created by generative AI systems that will go into our like news, for instance, and all the text in the internet. So there will be a change, and I think the biggest change that I can see is it's going to be very difficult to navigate the future and kind of judge what is true and what is not, because there will be a lot of content generated. We already were overloaded with content and information, but this will increase exponentially now, because it's not just us creating the content, but the machines creating the content with us, and that we share with each other. So it could be that normally I would just have a few bullet points and pass it to my colleague over email. Now I could put those few bullet points into any AI bot that will create a long email for me that I can send to my friend, who probably will not be bothered to read it. So they will put it through their own chatbot that will summarize it for them, and then you can imagine the loop. So we are producing and reproducing content that will not necessarily be original anymore, may not necessarily be creative anymore, and definitely will not be true. So how are we navigating that environment is, I think, the key question.
And that's already kind of a reality. So there are many websites that contain, they're not genuine. They're made up by AI just to rank higher on Google. So if you are typing on Google, if you don't know that source, if you don't know it comes from, I don't know, a journalist or from an academic or from an organization, it might be that it was put together by an AI generator from materials you saw on the web just to be at the top of the rank, so you can click on some ads inside there. That is already a reality. I come across these websites very frequently. A lot of, I was browsing TikTok and Instagram the other day, and there's a lot of videos that were generated with the latest Google video image generator. So a lot of videos that you see, funny videos like the kangaroo that we had here, they are already AI generated. And that not only poisons the information system that we have, but also it weakens the next generation of AIs because they will run out of real data to train itself on. It will eat its own tail.
And this is like, there is a little bit of a an interesting point here as well, that as our next generations slowly may forget to read and understand text, because it's not going to be that, you know, difficult to actually go through the text, because you can just put your whole PDF, the 20 pages, and it will summarize it for you into bullet points. So you will not develop those critical foundational reading skills. If we don't wake up right now, then our next generations may not develop these skills, which will make it even more difficult for them to cross-check what information is real or not real. So actually, your knowledge that you have, the level of literacy that you have, is going to be very valuable in a few years if we go down this route, because people will forget very slowly but surely how to make sense of information and how to double-check information.
Unless we
so that's
charge
one thing.
an AI trust, like a system with AI trust, and how we...
Yeah, of course.
Unless we engineer that, which we're not seeing happen.
And we have to educate people about like truth and AI systems. So AI literacy, foundational skills, and reading is remaining very important.
Yeah, and I guess also the old saying, I only believe it when I see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
It's no longer true, obviously.
Yeah.
That's very right.
Yes, please. Can we have a microphone? First person, yeah, in the back row. And then we have the gentleman in the white polo shirt, and then we have the gentleman in the blue polo shirt. Should we take several questions after? Or do it one by one? We do it one by one. Yes, please. Yes.
So I would like your opinion about one of your slides said that trust and acceptance is the ultimate goal. Now, is this a good goal? And I would like you to discuss a little bit and maybe challenge that, because I think that it might be rational, of course, for technology vendors, because they need our trust and acceptance so they can sell us the technology. But as Jerry Mander said many years ago, technology should be considered guilty unless proven innocent.
I love that.
So in fact, democratic governance is based on distrust. I mean, separation of powers, limited temporal term in office, the due process. I mean, all these mechanisms are designed with distrust. So we can afterwards all trust in the democratic governance. So I would like to challenge, because we are normally very easy accepting that all innovation is virtuous and has benefits. And that is, I think, not always true. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you,
Thanks
actually. Thank you very much for this very insightful question. Yeah, so No, definitely. What I meant by that is, first, we have to create trust. We have to create the framework so that we equip ourselves with the skills to be able to navigate this environment. We need to be able to create a situation where the risks of using generative AI tools and AI go down a little bit. And we have to have legislation and governance that will protect us from the misuse and the bias and everything else. So I think what I meant by this is more like, to get there, we have a lot of homework to do. But I would say maybe the word acceptance is not the right word, but we cannot not engage with this. So there's no way to say, I am outside of this, what is happening, because it's not about the future, it's about today. Your data is already telling everything about you, everything. Because you are using digital systems that harvest the data. You are on Facebook, so your friends and who you like and who you are in touch with is knowledge for somebody. Your data about what music you like, because you might have Spotify or Apple Music on the phone. All the things that you engage with, digital systems. You go to the gym and you have your watch and it measures your heart rate. That's data. Everything you do is data, because we live our lives on phones and credit cards. Okay. So there's a lot of data around us, and that data will have an impact on these systems, but a lot of the times this is not regulated yet. So we need to equip ourselves with the knowledge, the AI literacy, and we need the frameworks for nations, for companies to really serve the interests of people. And then I think we will have acceptance if we get there, but there's a very, very, very long way to go. So I agree with you.
A very quick point, I also agree. I don't know what the writers of that report, like we took that from KPMG, I don't know what the writers of that report actually meant by like the inevitability of acceptance. I'll have to go back and read it, but I completely agree with that. Like if, it's a big if, like if you want to have AI acceptance, you must ensure trust first, and it's more like a prerequisite as opposed to a linear guaranteed route. I also reject the inevitability argument.
Yeah,
like there's nothing that tells us that it's inevitable to use AI. I think it's inevitable to react to its impact that it's already having. I think we need to adapt, but it's not inevitable to have to adapt to it, to use AI.
Definitely. Yeah, we didn't want to advocate that, so for sure.
There was a question here from a gentleman in the white polo shirt.
¿Aló?
Hello.
En castellano.
Bueno,
la ley de la...
It seems to me that there's a little bit the law of the jungle today. What can avoid or impede, if that exists, so that the artificial intelligence can be governed under the law? What can legislation do to put a bit of order in this? And according to your opinion, your sincere opinion, do you think this is possible, or should we think that this is a lost battle?
Wow, yeah. What do we think?
Well, definitely not a lost battle. Never, you never say never. So yeah, we should fight. We should do it. But it is a very challenging space. I think technology and technology companies are ahead of states, governments, and academia, for sure. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a lost battle, but it is a very challenging battle. And I think the more awareness is created, and that's why we have to have just discussions like this, where we talk about it, without maybe necessarily knowing the right answers, just exchanging views with each other is helping, because it raises awareness of the risks and the opportunities as well. So that maybe that could be fed into creating good governance and good legislation. But unfortunately, yes, today's environment doesn't seem that it's going to stop a lot of things, although I think that, for instance, the EU AI Act is already in place, and it is...
I think in terms of regions,
it's a very good
no other region
direction.
is doing more than the European, more on the right direction than the European Union, really. I think it's in the right direction. The critics of that say that, well, that means Europe is behind on technology and we're behind. But again, I counter the argument of inevitability. Do we need AI? Like, it's inevitable that it's here and that people are using it this particular way. But do we need this type of AI? Can we not have an AI that is more, more ethical, more grounded? One, to answer very clearly your response to what should be done. Well, forget even about the AI. How do we hold the companies who create AI tools accountable for sharing and explaining the data they put in there? We don't know. We don't know what data goes into any of the companies. So one of the big tech companies is known for having, Meta has pirated all the books in the world and to use for training their AIs. So it could start with the actual data. So publish in a way that preserves some commercial integrity and whatnot.
I think there are also attempts to put the honor of, put the responsibility on the companies and the users and the implementers of AI systems and not the user itself. Because that's the problem, that a lot of the times you as a user have to opt out or protect your own data and your privacy, whereas it should be the other way around. Yeah. You should be told if your data is taken from your social media, for instance.
Why can't we build an AI that takes these principles into account?
Thank you for your expression, your comment. I will speak in Spanish.
Okay.
Sorry.
As a space engineer that I'm retired, but we're still working. In the conquest of space, it's based on sending some robots and in IA within them through data, through communication. And these machines are going to be able to function through photovoltaic cells in Mars, for instance. And we are interested in that. We want to send through artificial intelligence, like bots, to conquest the space. No? The title of your conference, Will Bots Inherit the Earth? But I think there are other bots of other cultures that are being inheriting or conquering. What do you think about that?
I don't think I have enough expertise to comment on that, to be honest. What I would say is the use of AI in space technology and engineering in general is of an AI that is not as, what is the best word for that, sloppy as the generative AI we're using today. So AIs that are used for this kind of robots, for this kind of missions, they go through a more extenuating set of tests, right? Because the risks and the cost of sending a robot that uses artificial intelligence to a different, completely alien, literally alien environment are a lot bigger than a chatbot that will say some random stuff to you. So I think that process is guaranteed by several audit boards. So that process of governance is perhaps what we could adopt to the more popular kind of use of generative AI, for example. So make it more stringent and more, don't deploy anything without the right safeguards. Some AI companies try to do that. They have their own benchmarks and everything. But yeah, I would say like the parallels there for me, the AIs that are used for this kind of machines I would trust them more than the AIs that are used on chatbots. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
We have time for one last, there's still a lot of questions in the audience, so let's make it two more questions. The gentleman in the black polo shirt has been having his hand up for a long time. Then we go on the other side, the gentleman in the light blue polo shirt. Yes, and then unfortunately we have to close the round of questions. So.
Hello,
Yes.
So first of all, thank you for the conference. It's been very illuminating. And well, looking around, you can kind of tell that the attendees are older adults, no? So my question is, how would you involve and educate the youth in not just large language models, but also the ethical impacts that they have and the possible impacts not just in society, but also in their own development?
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I mean, it is down to the education system to educate children and the parents, of course, to educate children about the dangers and the impact of these systems on their own lives. And I think the problem is that it's not just the older generation. I think it's kind of from midlife or even earlier. A lot of people don't use these systems, and young kids grow up on them. So I think we see it with our students, and also our children. Children are already learning with generative AI tools, and they are, you just had an example of that, you know, listening to AI-generated content in the kindergarten. So how can you engage with that? The only way, if you educate yourself so that you can teach the children as parents, as teachers, as any other people who come in contact with them. And of course, regulation would be very important here as well. Protection for the children so that they are taking the best out of these systems so that it helps them develop skills, get maybe personalized learning experiences, but protects their privacy, their data, and their vulnerabilities that they might find when they are engaging with these systems without support and help.
Some of this process of like young folks know more about these things and miss out on other things that the previous generation had are kind of common as well. So there's one part of it is natural phenomena. One thing that always remains to shock me, is that my students, the younger undergraduates that I teach at a very renowned university, top of the world, some of the best universities in the world, they are 18 years old, they don't know what a file and a folder is in a computer. So I generally have to explain a folder has these files and then have to go inside a file because they grew up with iPads and other stuff that they don't need to learn that. And in the past, we used to invest on, you had to go to take computing classes, right? We don't have those anymore. So that's like, if we bring those back, then we solve that problem. So it's very similar to the AI situation.
It's probably going to be, there is so much attempt to integrate AI literacy skills, like from very early age, kindergarten even.
Yes. So yeah, the last question before we have to close, yeah.
Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, voy a hablar español.
Okay, thank you very much for your excellent presentation and the discussion. I am a retired doctor, medical doctor, and I would like to ask you about the impact and consequences that I think that can be positive of AI in the field of health and medicine. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. I mean, there are so many different fields where AI will contribute immensely to innovation, to finding new solutions for sicknesses, even to operate people. There are amazing innovative systems that are used for science. And yeah, they will contribut to a lot of things, a lot of new innovations. And those are very welcome. So as long as we use them for those purposes, and we use them well for the benefit of health, for the benefit of society, I'm very supportive. I think that's the way forward. We should find those use cases and multiply them, and maybe find those use cases where they backfire and stop those.
Yeah, so there are some potential positive applications in the health sector. Like in clinics, for example, one thing that people are very interested these days is the concept of a digital twin. So imagine if you map create virtual copies of everyone, simulated copies of everyone online, and then you simulate scenarios where how your treatment could go, and depending on lifestyle for this and that, you simulate all of those fully using AI in a scenario. So that could help you consider potential scenarios for a clinical, like prognostic, listening diagnostics and things like that. There are uses of AI for finding drug-drug interactions, for finding, developing new medicine and finding new proteins that can, new chemicals that can cure a lot of diseases. So there's a lot of applications, and the generative AI application there is mostly, so people are interested in digital twins, but you can also have an AI that reads the history of the patient and then keeps that into account. We have to be aware, again, of the biases. So what kind of data was used to train those specific tools and everything like that. But yeah, if tested correctly, we can get a good thing out of it.
Thank you very much, Dory. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Fundación Ramón Areces, Daniel, and the whole team in the room to facilitate this. Thank you to the translator, and last but not least, thanks to all of you, because as we've learned, the future of AI is shaped by all of us, the way that we engage with AI, the way that we use AI, and the way that we want AI to be governed. So thanks for taking the time for engaging with AI tonight, and have a good evening. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation.